Hey, this is Jared Krause, host of the Buying Online Businesses podcast. And in this episode, I'm doing something very different, but immensely valuable. Every fortnight, I and my business partner, Charley Valher, are going to come on and we're going to be going deep into sharing our journey of how we're buying and building a portfolio of businesses together. This series is going to be called The Portfolio, and we've only just recently started this brand new portfolio together, and we're going to be documenting and sharing it all with you. So, in this first episode, Charley and I talk about why we're building a portfolio of sites and why we're sharing it with you guys and how valuable it's also going to be. We're also going to be talking about the goals that we're wanting to hit, such as going from zero to $10,000 per month and helping people go from $10,000 per month to 20K per month. But this really is for people who are starting out wanting to buy businesses and build a portfolio of businesses so they can replace their income. We also talk about the first business that I bought into, which is one that Charley started, and monetizing that. We're also talking about me buying businesses for the portfolio and how I'll be handling that, and Charlie will be handling a lot of the team. We're also going to be talking about the trajectory of the portfolio. So, if you're looking to buy your first website business, already have a website business, and or wanting to build a portfolio of websites, make sure you tune into this episode because it's going to be very, very valuable. Today's episode is brought to you by us here at Buying Online Businesses. Let me ask, if you have an online business, have you ever thought of selling it? We're a thriving community of website investors who are cashed up and hungry to buy your online business. Our members are well trained in online business due diligence, allowing you a quick sale of your business. And because we only want to provide a better service to our members, we're opening up the doors to allow you to sell your online business to us free of charge. So, if you have an online business that's making a minimum net profit of $5,000 per year and you're thinking of selling your business, head over to our Sell Your Business page at buyingonlinebusinesses.co/sell your business. There will be a link in the show notes, and you can also find this page from our site, buyingonlinebusinesses.com. That's buyingonlinebusinesses.com. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Buying Online Businesses podcast. I and a special guest have something super duper exciting to share with you. Charley, thanks so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me, Jared, the returning world champion. I tell you what, it lights me up every time I'm in your community and I say hello to someone or I mention someone, and the first thing they say back is, I enjoyed your episode of the podcast. So I'm so happy to be here again and really talking about something much, much bigger today. And I'm excited to share with the people who listen.
Yeah, it's so good to see those first few podcast episodes that we've done. A lot of people that join the community go back to those because they are pillar episodes. People that are just starting out in this. And I feel like we've just gone full circle, and that's what we're about to do now. Is we've helped people a lot start getting into this game. And through the Bob community, I've helped a lot of people buy sites, but there's a lot of people that are sitting on the outside and going, how is this done? And they kind of want to get a bird's eye view and a little bit of insider access into how it's done. So Charley and I have joined up and we decided to start a portfolio together and share with you guys over the shoulder how to buy sites and scale them and grow them with team, monetization, all these different types of things. So it's very, very exciting.
I just want to ask you a question here. Before you bought your first site, right, in this moment of like going back a few years now, I wonder if you share this. Did you or were you a skeptic? Did you think it was a bit fake?
It was a total gamble to me because when I took my money out of the stock market and I thought, all right, cool, I'm going to buy an online business. I don't know anybody that's done it. Nobody's taught me this. I'm going to put 15K USD into this business. It looks like it's making money. I haven't actually shared this on my episode. I do probably 2 to 3 interviews a week, Charley, now, and tell people that when I bought my first site, the owner left a couple of transactions in the PayPal account for me throughout the migration, because when I technically bought the site, those were my transactions or my sales. And when I took over that PayPal account, I was just over the moon. I couldn't believe like it was my first real business that I just bought that was making money. And that's what we want to help people do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, talking from my own side here, and like my experience was very similar. You said a couple of things that were so much how I felt. It felt fake. I was like, all right, well, for me, it was investing in going to a seminar to learn some stuff at the time or a training. And I was like, well, do you know what? The training was $350, by the way. And I was like, do you know what? If I spend $350 and it's a scam and it doesn't work, I'll at least know it doesn't work and I can move on. I don't have to be questioning this. But luckily enough, I went and learned some stuff. And like, I remember making my first sale. And as soon as I made a sale, it was real. Like the whole idea of like making money online and buying and selling businesses and doing things in that area became very, very real. However, one of the things I wish had existed back then was that I could hear from people that were actually doing it to make it much more real. So this series that we're doing called The Portfolio is designed to bring people along the journey with us and over the shoulder in us building this website portfolio together so they can kind of break down that barrier. It's like, I really want this podcast series to be a new truth, a new way of looking at this and going, well, hang on, it does work. I'm not going to do silly things here and think that I have to work a 9 to 5 or grow an agency or anything like that. Like it is possible to make this work.
Yeah, it's very possible. I've done it myself. You've done it yourself, Charlie. We know a lot of people in our sphere that have done it as well. But what we want to do is just really shed the light of like, this is how you can build a portfolio. Because a lot of people go, all right, cool, I could buy one business and then, do I sell it and buy the next one? What do I do with like hiring? What do I do with monetization? Do I bring consultants in? All these different things. There's so many moving parts and we just want to simplify it, right? Like we really want to show them like, it doesn't have to be hard. You can make it simple. And that's why I guess we work so well together, Charlie, is we keep things pretty simple.
Yeah, hugely so. So let's ground this down and tell everyone like the starting point. Right. So, I mean, from your perspective, I'll let you share. I mean, not from your perspective, from our perspective, I should say, from here. But we're starting effectively at ground zero. So take people through kind of the parameters of the game and what they can look to get out of, I suppose, following along with this podcast.
Yeah, so Charlie and I have been wanting to work together in building a portfolio for some time together. And I've been looking at sites to buy recently. Charlie's been looking at sites to buy, and we've been sending them to one another. It's been a fun stage, and we decided let's get in. Let's just get started. Let's just get a team happening. So when we purchase something, we can put a team straight into that and ramp those businesses up. So I was like, cool. I agree. That's a great way to go. What should we build a team around? And Charlie, you had a site called, we won't name names, but you had a site that's in the parenting niche. And we came to an agreement that I'd buy into that content site. And you started that maybe a year and a half ago. Is that right?
It's got about 2 years on it, that site. I started it from scratch.
Yeah. And so we decided let's use this as a platform to build a team, to a content machine. Like we want to build a team which becomes a content machine. We can use that as leverage so we don't have to be doing the heavy lifting of like working in the business. Instead, we can work on the business. And that's what essentially we want to teach everybody listening, is that we can show you how you can build a team, show you how you can be the owner of a business and not have to do all of the operations and the ins and out that come with that.
Yeah, hugely so. So should we give people a snapshot of where the site's at today? So actually, maybe I should cover this one since I have a bit.
For sure, yeah.
I elected about 2 years ago to start a site from scratch. It was just in a niche that I couldn't find a site I wanted to buy, or there wasn't any available to buy in that niche. And I thought, you know what, I'll have a crack at it. It has been a long and slow slog. I will mention this out is in the building of this site, I recognized just how much time it does take to build a site from scratch. I'm not saying it's impossible, but there certainly are some shortcuts available if you can buy a site. Nonetheless, I had this site sitting here. Jared must have tickled his fancy a little bit as well, has come in for half of it. Currently, as it sits now, and I'm happy to date this, in the month of October, so we'll look at about October, and I'm going to pull the stats up on it now.
Yeah, October 2020.
Yeah, the October 2020, the site is, let's just call it around 10,000 page views per month is where it's at right now. So about 10,000 hits a month. All traffic, or I'd say 90% of the traffic, is kind of been from organic measures. We haven't put in any paid or anything like that, which I think is quite interesting.
No link building.
No, and I mean, this is something that I might vary into another episode in itself, but I am just not a fan of some of the link building stuff out there. I know Google hates it. I know they don't like the idea of people manipulating their rankings by building links and things like that. And then my own experience in owning sites, it drives me nuts with people sending me these emails pretending like they want to be my friend, saying, oh, we should be guest posting on your site. That'd be really helpful for you. And I'm like, yeah, come on. Like everyone knows this stuff now, don't they?
This is a big reason that I like this as a platform, Charlie, is because you haven't done link building, and we can dig into this another day, but just a little thing. I'm going to open up a little tab here, just put a pin down and say that Google one day is going to get smart enough to realize that where the traffic is coming from and which links and if they were built or bought, and they're already starting to do that. So it's just, for me, I'm so evergreen, I'm so long term, which is same as you, Charlie, which is why we work well together. It just wasn't a thing.
Hugely so. And I'm with you there. Long term, I think people that have done manipulatively things or manipulable things to their sites, they end up paying a price for it. Every update, like they live in this fear of like, oh, what am I going to get hit for? And I just don't want to build assets under that nature. It's like, imagine if you were building apartment blocks and you knew you were putting in shitty foundations. It's like, would you be able to sleep at night?
It's stressful. Like that, you ask that question, would you be able to sleep at night? The answer is no, because it's stressful. And so many people, this is my belief system that I tell people, that they're like, I want to buy a site, I want to make money really quick, or they see these numbers of like X amount, 100K in one day, and people forget that like it took a long time for that person to be able to get to that stage. And if you're coming in with the intention of trying to do that, make 100K in a day or a short period of time, you make mistakes because you're stressed out. And that's what our goal is with this portfolio, Charlie, is to be in this for years and be in this together for many, many years. In fact, we want to show you how to go from buying a site, and it might be earning, $1,000 a month, 2K a month, up to getting it to 10K a month. And then we want to show you how to go from 10K to 20K a month as well. That can only be done with long term, rather than trying to make, all right, I'm going to get 20K a month by the end of the year. It's unrealistic, it's stressful, and it makes you do silly things.
Hugely so. I think there's very, very uniquely too many short-term thinkers in this game instead of long-term, in my opinion. But we'll come back to that at another point. I will mention this, though. I think it's a little bit funny. Well, I find it funny anyway, is the idea that, so we've just turned monetization on this site. So over last week, we're working together, me and Jared, and putting together running display ads on the site. So I have to pull up the exact number. I have to, because it's too funny. So this site, the first site in the portfolio that we're working on here, has made, and that's a little drum roll here, $2.87 is what we're staring at so far. So month one, at the start of this journey, we're at $2.87. We've got one site in the portfolio with about 10,000 hits a month on it, which I think is so fascinating. And obviously, like, everyone's got to start somewhere. Like, the portfolio has to start somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. Like, it comes back to the long-term thing of like, right, I came into this site, it's not making any money, but I'm so bullish on this long-term that I'm happy to not be crushing it with a return straight away, because I see the bones. Like, so should we tell them how let's tell them how we actually went down the process of monetizing it. Charlie's vastly handling team and building that content machine, and I'm handling the monetization side, and we cross-pollinate into one another as we will go through it as well, and things will adapt and change as our systems and processes only get better, right, Charlie? So yeah, we just turned on Ezoic and just got them to put up some generic ads, and $2.87 later, that's from, I think, 3 days over the weekend. So it was like 60 cents a day.
3 days in.
Yeah. That's what we did is very, very simple thing, is like signed up to Google AdSense, got ad exchange put onto Ezoic. They basically turned on the ads for us, Charlie. In fact, they asked me for the top 10 posts. I sent them the top 10 posts. They put their ad placements up, and I went in and saw some ones that weren't in the best position and removed those and left the other ones. And we're just going to let the algorithm do its thing.
Definitely.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that?
I would just say from here is like, I think one of the questions I would ask if I was listening to this right now is like, being we both have experience, like, why not just go buy a bigger site right now? Like, why are we starting with this small site? And it is something that I've thought about as well that I wanted to bring up throughout this. The reason why we're starting with this site is a couple of factors. is one, I think many people out there, this is probably the level of site they will start with. So if you're a beginner or someone starting out, we're going to do one from this level and we're going to grow it and update you along the way. So each and every maybe month or every couple of weeks, we'll release a little update with how the sites are doing and what we're working on. And you can think of that as a bit of a guide to what you might want to work on with your own site. The other side of it, this is something is we're actually going to be adding more sites to this portfolio. We're going to buy different sites and some bigger ones, maybe some different business models as well, so that we can include it in from there. Now, we have been looking, and I know Jared's been looking very hard, but we're in a position right now where I'll just put it out there. We haven't necessarily found the one we want to buy yet. We're trying to be patient towards finding the right site for our strengths.
Yeah, spot on. It's a great thing to highlight is that some people will come in, especially to the Bob community, and say, look, I've got 100K cash, or I've got 150K, or I can access 500K and go away and buy one of those sites. And these are the people that have some level of investing knowledge and or have owned a brick and mortar business. And then a lot of people listening to this, Charlie, are people that are like, all right, I'm going to try and get some money together and try and get around 10 to 20K. And I was there as well, right? That's where I first started is I bought my first site for 15K. And I want to come back to that and really highlight like how that is done because not everybody's buying sites for 250K. And in fact, if you don't have any experience, I suggest you do start on smaller sites, at least own that for a year or two. Start off on that and then make some money. More importantly, what's going to be more valuable than the money you make through that business is the experience that you get, which will build your confidence into buying bigger sites and scaling them and growing them.
I do wonder, I'm going to chime in here.
Yeah.
Have you come across this? I have wondered this. When I was starting out with, I suppose, business in general, I looked at some bigger businesses and like I had this moment when I was like, if I buy this, I actually don't know how to run it. Like if I buy this, I'm actually like, there's going to be a steep learning curve to me running this business or site or whatever it is. Have you seen people get caught out buying a site past their ability and then not being able to maintain it, dropping revenue? Have you seen that occur? Because I can imagine this must happen, but I've never seen it firsthand where you've got a very different view to me.
I see it not within my community, but there have been people that have come to me like, Jared, I just bought this business and like, they're like, I need your help. And I'm like, why didn't you come to me before you bought a business? And then they've just jacked on not a whole business, but a whole layer of stress and which causes bad decisions. Again, I'm all about the less stress, the better our lives can be. That's what my goal is, not to buy businesses and make a whole bunch of money, but really the foundation of having a less stressful life. Yeah, there's people that are in my community that say, hey, I want to buy this business. And say it's an e-commerce business, Charlie, that has it's quite reliant on ads, right? On Facebook ads or Instagram ads or something like that. And I say, cool, that's great. Do you have experience in digital marketing and paid ads? Because if you don't, then what's going to happen is you're going to purchase this and you may not be able to replicate the results that the previous owner of that business was getting because they had mad ad skills and you don't. And maybe you don't have enough to hire to pay an ad agency as a retainer with a business you just bought for 30 grand and they're asking for 3K a month as a retainer just to manage your account, let alone ad spend. So there are people that purchase things and are very confident. I love that they're confident, but they have the perception they can run these. They don't know where to start. And we can talk about this another day. We can dive into the depth of what is the best starter site for somebody with no experience versus somebody that has a little bit of experience. But I'm glad you asked that question.
Yeah, it has crossed my mind a few times here. It really has. And I must admit that that's something that's concerned me. Like I see businesses out there now I want to buy, but I would be concerned running for it there. All right. So what should we lean into next year? Is there anything you want to include? We've covered our starting point. We've covered the intention of what we're trying to work towards here. We've mentioned that we're looking to buy sites or in the market to buy a site right now. Should we talk a little bit into the business model of how we want to kind of make this work?
Yes. Before we do, I would like to add one thing in before we talk about the business model and how we're going to structure it and how we want to make it work. Is that lately, as you know, I'm been looking at so many sites, been doing due diligence on so many sites, and I feel a lot of people get really, really overwhelmed with doing due diligence and I think they put it on this pedestal or they don't realize that it can be quite simple if they just go and do it step by step. So if you're new to this, like make sure you go away and get my due diligence framework and just follow that. It's for free. It's on my site. You just go to the resources tab, go away and download it. And it's going to help you. Like I'm literally doing businesses on, 100K sites plus and even under, and I'm doing it within 30 minutes, Charlie. It's very, very quick. It's very methodical. And all I'm doing is I'm just following it step by step. Yes, I have experience, but that's only from doing it so many times. And these people are going to get that as well. So that's another story for another day in due diligence. But there's some cracking sites out there. And Charlie and I are looking to spend some money at the moment. So we can use this team and use this machine. But yeah, I'll hand it over to you in terms of like how we're going to model this.
So, what I think is really interesting here is before we even bought a site, we spent a whole bunch of time just thinking about like what's the right site to buy. I think really what's interesting, I see people being a bit opportunistic. Like they only look at what's available and they try and bend their skills to be right for that business. They go, oh, this is the site available, so I'm just going to buy that and then I'll adapt. Where conversely, what I've really enjoyed in the thinking process and what I wish I did in some of my ventures is thought more about, well, what are we really good at doing? And then how can we find businesses that fit that? So the business model we've elected to kind of lean in towards in the beginning is content sites and display advertising, which I think is really interesting. I own a media company as well. So like I've got a very strong content background, as do you, Jared. I actually don't know many people that have made as much content as you. Content machine.
Yeah.
So we thought, well, why not lean into this? Like we're going to make this an area. Like I'm not particularly strong in e-commerce. Jared, are you by chance?
I have some experience in ads, made a couple 100K and done really, really well. But like you said, I've created so much content. I understand how to create content that people want to consume. Why wouldn't I just lean into that? Because like you said, like my content's pretty favored and I feel like I do an okay job. So why not just lean into that and teach the team how to replicate that even more so in multiple businesses?
Hugely so. And have we covered the goal of let's talk a little bit into the goal here because I'm not sure we've mentioned what we're like working towards from this portfolio. So I'll let you lead the way on this one. What are you looking at as initial goals for this portfolio?
So as an initial goal, like we want to get the machine working. We want to get the team, like we're building the team on this platform, on this parenting niche content site. So then once we have that team in system, when we buy a site, we can just plug that team into that system. And the initial goal is to just start making a little bit of money. We're going to make some mistakes on this parenting business, and then when we purchase a business, then we can start playing around with that. We're going to make mistakes every corner that we turn. But I think the initial goal is to really start showing people how to get from a couple of $1,000s a month in those smaller sites up to 10K a month, and then go from 10K to 20K.
Yeah, you mentioned something really exciting there, and I love that. Like, let's make that first milestone in the portfolio 10K a month profit. I think that's a really great one, and then I'm sure we'll break through that, by the way, and then we're going to show what it takes to get it to 20K. Something you mentioned there that I think we probably haven't spoken a lot into in this episode yet is, but we've hired people. There's already people here. So I think it's really important to talk about the idea that for all the sites that we're working on or we purchase, we're not the ones in there doing all the work. And I think that's very intentionally as well, as I think some people are probably out there buying jobs. So they're buying a site and then they're just embedding themselves in it, where I wanted to really highlight and show, like, this is it. Like, one of the reasons I want to do this is to show people that you can actually put the right kind of leverage in place. So we've got some people on the team. I'll run through this now since this is an area that I have more been all over. But initially at the moment, we've got 3 people working on these sites, which I think is fantastic. And I'm hopeful we'll add many, many more. Quite excited to build a big team on this one.
Yeah, so let's talk about those hires in maybe another episode, in why we talked about why we went down hiring those people, like which different roles and why, and who to start with first, and what we should be doing and should not be doing around hiring. Are you keen to dig into a separate episode around that?
Hugely so. I think we reveal all.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. Well, the goal of this podcast was just to say hello. We're starting to build our portfolio out. We've linked up. We just want to show people. We want to show you how it's done. That's the main intention of why we're recording these episodes. Plus, we're going to learn some things in reflection, aren't we, as well, Charlie? We're going to learn a lot from our mistakes. We're going to learn a lot from us talking about it. We talk behind the scenes anyway, but we're going to learn a lot more the more we reflect and talk about what we're doing and why. And so it's going to be learning for everyone involved. Do you have anything to add before we head off, Charlie?
That's it for this one.
Cool. Guys, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. What I want you to do is to think of 2 to 3 people who want to move into the online business space, want to start making money online through owning website businesses and building a portfolio of website businesses. Think of those 2 to 3 people and do them a massive favor and share this podcast episode with them. But most importantly, if you do want to get in-depth training, updates, info, and even ask Charley and I questions about how and why we're doing certain things when we're buying our sites and growing these sites and building this portfolio, make sure you head over to buyingonlinebusiness.com, click on community and check out the Bob community. This is where I help people and guide people to buy their first website business and build a portfolio of sites themselves as well. Thanks so much for coming on, Charley. Greatly appreciate you being here. And I look forward to talking more about our portfolio in the next episode.